Hi, welcome to this episode of Author Again. I'm Travis Davis, your host. Tell us your story. Hey, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, wherever you might be. Good night. Today we have Sara Grover, and she is about to release her first book. So we're excited about talking about her new book, about her. I want to thank her for being a spouse of a military member. I know it's hard. My wife was a spouse. My mom was a spouse. So I want to thank you for what you do to make sure that we stay safe and everybody feels secure at home. So,
Yeah,
all right, Sara, tell
thanks for
about
having
yourself.
me.
Yeah, come on.
Uh, well, I mean, I don't usually particularly find myself that interesting. I do a little bit of everything. I'm a stay-at-home Navy spouse. I have a special needs child that requires a lot of time and a lot of commitment. Right now, he's out with his dad on a car ride because, of course, school sent him home again. It's kind of hard to hold down a job when every time you turn around, they're calling you, and
Yeah.
doctor's appointments and all that fun stuff. Basically, I've always been an avid reader. Love creative writing, but it's got to be inspired and not contrived. So kind of always had that issue with creative writing class when they try to force it out of you. My education was in education, teaching by profession. That lasted like maybe 5 years with my kiddo until it became kind of impossible. But other than that, I'm just a pretty normal person, I would like to say. I cook, I take care of my chickens, take care of my cats. Little bit of a jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal.
Excellent. So do you let the cats in with the chickens?
The cats come in and out. The chickens, they have to stay outside, unfortunately. They don't like it sometimes. Like today, it's raining, and they look at you all wet, like, "Why do the cats get to go inside and I can't?" Like, that's too bad.
Oh my goodness. So what? So you wrote your first book. What's the title?
The title is Unknown Variant. I actually started writing it back in 2016.
Uh-huh.
Took a couple years of revising and editing and revising. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I probably rewrote like parts of it like 5, 6 times. Then I got stuck at the ending because we had to move again. I started writing it. We were living in San Antonio, Texas. That was our first station.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to move to Washington State. And so with all the chaos, I kind of wasn't able to finish it. Then I had to kind of get back in the groove. And I finished it probably 2019 when I really figured I was finished with it.
Okay, so
And then from then it
tell us
was,
about it. Tell us about your
yeah.
book.
So it is a kind of a hard to pigeonhole, but I'd say it's more of a new adult dystopic political like romance. It's
Mhm.
so my main character, she's kind of an anti-hero and not what a lot of people would consider like a likable character. But I kind of created basically this world where it's kind of we're genetically segregated, and it's not that far off from what's becoming reality, sadly, with politics these days and just
Yeah.
the attitudes of people. And the actual inspiration for it was kind of weird. So, being a special needs mom, I'm really sensitive to a lot of the issues that go on in the community. And one day I was reading the story on Yahoo, and I forget where it happened, but basically there was a young man who was about 18, 19, and he was out in a water park with a therapist. And the therapist was not paying attention. They should have gone with him, and they had him go up this water slide. And he had a hard time with waiting. And he took a young child and just kind of picked him up and dropped him over the edge. And the kid fell and he almost died. Thank God he didn't. But I made the mistake of going into the comment section.
Oh no.
And you see just so much hate. Basically, how these people, they should be locked away in insane asylums. They should be executed. Their parents should have had them aborted. They should be sterilized. Just
How terrible.
there's it's so terrible what people say when they hide behind the anonymity of the internet, but it kind of really shows you what they really think.
Yes.
And I was really hurt, really angry because I feel obviously very sorry for the small child. That's terrible, but also, for the young man who didn't know what he was doing was wrong.
Right.
Because I feel like that because my son has very severe autism, which is a genetic cause.
Mhm.
Didn't know before I had him at the time, and he kind of sees people as tools, not really people. And I can
Mhm.
imagine like that could have been my son. Uh, and it just pains me to think of that people see him that way,
Mhm.
and they see people like that way. And so I took that kind of that sorrow, that anger, and I kind of turned it into what if that world was real? What if what these people wanted came true? What would it be like?
Mhm.
and that's where I got the inspiration. So basically, it's a like 100 or so years, 130 years now in the future or so, and society faces basically the I'd say the leftist dream come true. Uh,
Mhm.
Global warming, the oceans have flooded all, like, the coast, everything's been decimated, farmlands are destroyed, population is too high. So you basically have this cabal of, like, world governments,
Mhm.
almost like in, the NGOs we have now,
Yeah.
who kind of get together and say, well, we have resources that we want for ourselves, and there's not enough to go around for us to have as much as we want. So if we just get rid of people because they're a drain on the system, because they're suffering and they're
Yeah.
devolving the human species, and then the ones that they don't initially exterminate, it's like second Holocaust, they segregate them into what we have: GIs, the genetically inferior, and the normies. And so I kind of create this character, this young woman who's like genetically inferior, but it's from an unknown genetic variant,
Mhm.
and there's nothing actually noticeably wrong about her. And so she works as a prostitute as a means to an end to support her mother and her siblings after her father had passed.
Yeah.
And so we kind of have this anti-hero story of how she, ends up being kind of duped into this indentured servitude of a very corrupt politician through his son, who's actually a really nice guy for of the privileged class. He's a really great guy. Unfortunately, he's got some pretty shady people in his life. And they have this, forbidden illegal love story to where they both develop as people kind of having this redemption arc.
Mhm.
And then they have to flee because they get found out. And so they flee to basically the only place in my book that is unscathed from this is Australia, because it's so geographically isolated.
Just like their animals. That's right. That's why
Yeah.
they only have those species in Australia because they can't migrate that far. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't migrate that far. So, the political idea is that, they kind of just left Australia alone because Australia's like, we're not going to be part of this stuff. And you can't force us. It was just not worth it for the rest of
Mhm.
the, one world government to keep trying to force it. So they kind of left them to their own devices.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like this asylum seeking journey.
Well, like the penal colony when they set it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Kind of exactly like that, except in the, the future, of course. I wrote this, of course, all like way pre-COVID. And so now,
Right.
unfortunately, for this to be feasible, Australia's going to have to learn from those mistakes.
Yeah, they're gonna have to go a little different route. Like New Zealand's gonna have to go a little different route. So, so it took you. You started writing it in 2016. Is that right? So you took
Yeah.
some time off, which is most authors do. They normally, I haven't met an author yet that doesn't have another job or isn't a
Yeah.
stay-at-home mother or has other obligations, right? Um, or does something else because that helps with the creativity. So I know from experience that marketing is going to be tough. That's the hardest part, is getting your book out there. Have you given that any thought, how you're going to market your book or how you're going to get it out, into the public once it's released? That is a tough part.
It is the really tough part. I've been, like, trying to reach out to some book reviewers and some bloggers, and,
Mhm.
trying to find some inroads. Still haven't heard anything back yet.
Mhm.
Try to work the social media route. Unfortunately, you have a lot of people out there who are very much like, oh yeah, I'll promote your book, and they're all very much a pay for play, kind of deals where it's like, yeah, you don't want to promote my book, you just want me to pay you to promote it. It like
Exactly.
it might get a couple likes, but it's probably not going to generate sales. So nice
Mhm.
try.
Yeah, that is. I go to a writers group. I'll check around where you live. There's usually writer groups or libraries where
Mm.
you can get your book into the library, and
Hmm.
that way people can read it and check it out. They should have local authors, and then they also have where you can go and speak at events. There's a lot of book signings, like Kroger. I don't know what the equivalency of the East Coast is. Probably Publix or something.
Not really.
Yeah. So you can, like, I have a book signing on the 14th at a Kroger here in town, but I am also going to do some other ones. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. And then these different, bookstores and indie stuff. So that's tough. So that's, to me, I mean, that's the hardest thing too, is getting the marketing out, because you're right. I mean, people say, "Oh, I'll promote your book," and okay, I need hundreds of dollars. I'm like, that's crazy. Show,
Yeah.
show. You know what? Here's what I'll do. Give me some results, and I'll pay you for what you do.
Yeah,
Right?
but it's
They
never
won't.
that's never what they
No.
do. They're like, "Oh, give me this," and I'll like put a post out. I have all these followers. Yeah, all your followers are other authors who already paid you. So it's not
they're
really
not.
just
They're not reading a lot of books. They're writing them.
they're writing them. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! So I know you're busy. So what do you like to do in your free time when you have some, if that's such a thing?
Oh
What do y'all like to
God.
do as a family?
Oh well, unfortunately, with my kiddo, he doesn't really enjoy doing much right now. He
Mhm.
recently actually started having seizures, so
Oh no.
that that's put a big damper on a lot of things.
Uh,
Like I said, he used to enjoy stuff, but not so much anymore. So it's a real struggle. My free time, personally, I usually do a lot of well, try to do some Netflix binging, take a nap. I do
Nap is a
some
hobby. That's a new one.
yeah, napping's a hobby. I do like a little bit of lapidary work. I've always been a bit of a rock hound, so that I
Uh,
take things that I find or that I get, and I do some work on making like jewelry, but not that I never think it's anything good enough to sell. Like I said, I do a little bit of everything.
oh, I've seen some
I like,
stuff for sale. You could probably do is stuff for sale. I've seen stuff like, oh my God, come on.
yeah, no, I mean, I could, but it's just like I usually end up making things and giving them to my family. So it's like, Christmas gifts, birthday gifts. That's what I
Uh,
do also for the holidays. I got a lot of baking ahead of me.
mhm.
Uh, I had my one of my stepsisters, scold me when she asked me, "Well, what do you want for Christmas?" And so I'm like, "Oh, this so I can make that." She's like, "Is that for you or for you for making for other people?" I'm like, "Well, that's just kind of what I do."
So you got this one done.
Yeah,
Have you thought about another one, or you're just
I
kind of
I have
mulling and taking a break?
I have the sequel for the most part in my head. I've gotten about 6 pages out before I really got into the weeds of the editing process and the
Mhm.
formatting process and all that other stuff that kind of just like took away the attention, and like now
Yeah,
into the marketing phase.
yeah,
So it's like I have it up here,
right.
where there's going to be a lot more of a political twist to it in the second half, because at the end of the book they make it to Australia. So they make it there, but then this other main character, the male character, his father, I didn't know this at the time, but when I wrote it, but now I look back, I'm like, oh my god, I accidentally wrote about Joe Biden. Um, his father's a very corrupt senator who won his Senate seat based on the sympathy vote of his dead wife, who gets assassinated at a political event.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, he's just a slimy, scummy guy.
Full story.
Um, you know, his son is nothing like him, and he's kind of lives like in opposition to who his
Mhm,
father is.
mhm.
And I look back at the parallels, and like I thought of like just like the worst possible person ever, and and then I'm like, holy crap, I didn't mean to do
Uh-oh.
that. But of course, it says in the disclaimer, of course, all characters and things are they're acts of fiction. So any
They're made up.
coincidences are they're all made up. It's totally coincidental. And it was that was an
They're all
oops,
made up.
I guess. Well, not really an oops. It was very intentional, but you know, I think it's
So,
definitely going to be more of a political drama of how it's
mhm,
going to be, because now we have this very powerful man who feels a fool because his son basically went against everything he stood for, took this woman, ran to the other side of the world, and like now he's the laughing stock of the political you know establishment that he's in. So there's going to be some looking for revenge, political tensions, and that sort of deal.
oh wow. So I know that I believe we have the same publisher, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah, with Defiance, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So we have the same publisher. They're based out of Houston. I actually went down and met them.
Mm.
I was doing some work in Houston. I said, you know what? That's the first book I ever wrote. So I don't know. I need to I need to touch you, you know. So I went down there and met Dave and Mark, and once I met him, you know what? Okay, I feel pretty good with these
Mhm.
folks. So they did my first one. They're actually doing the second one now, and I just started writing in March.
Oh, like your first thing ever?
Yeah.
Wow, you're fast.
Think fast. I don't type fast.
Well, yeah, I think fast. It just gets kind of jumbled up, and then it's like you write it all out. Like
Yeah.
my thing is I get the idea, I can't let it go, and so that's why I wrote most of it, like 90% of it, like in probably 3 months. It was just
Yep.
like throw it out there, but then I'm like, okay, you got to revise it, they got to edit and revise it and edit it because I'm just like super perfectionist. But like I'm like a dog with a bone. When I get that idea, it's just like it's got to go. But I
Yeah.
have a hard time forcing it. That's why creative writing classes were always the thing for me. It's like it's not. It's got to be inspired.
Right. Right. I'm the same way. Once I start on writing something, I have to finish the thought.
Hmm.
Um, and then and I'll think of things and for the book, but I'll put them at the bottom of the book somewhere where I'm going to use them
Hmm.
later because I have a thought I want to do that. And so actually, I was thinking about the third book, and I was starting to think. And the other day, I was walking. I'm like, oh man, I got the perfect beginning for the third book. So I actually went and back, but before I submitted it, I went back and rewrote a little of the second book,
Hmm.
very small. That if you read it, you're gonna say, and then you go to the third book. Oh, that's where he caught that. That's where he said that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm writing a third now. Uh, and this is the first one. The second one is the same team as the first one. The third one, the second one you could read before the first one, but you'd want to read the first one. The third one you're gonna have to read almost the second one.
Oh, okay. So you guys kind of like a sort of
The
like a
sequel.
time jump going around.
Well, the the second book has actually three things happen at one time, in
Oh,
and I write about all three of them at the same time.
so from like different character perspectives or like third
Yes,
person. Okay.
different character, yeah, third person, different character perspectives, different things going on. Um, and I'll talk to my wife about it. She goes, "How do you come up with this stuff?" I go, "I don't know. I just come to it. It's
You're just a
crazy."
vessel. You're just a vessel for the muses.
You wouldn't you ask my friends, they wouldn't say that. They, they say, "What the hell happened to you?" Um, so you think about writing your second one, or you actually have some ideas. You got your first one out, and when is that going to be released so everybody can buy
the,
one?
the
The
first
first one.
one
Mm-hmm.
is coming out January 17th. As far as I know, that is the release date.
Okay.
I'm excited. I'm anxious.
And so
it's
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 Kindle
they're
and
doing it's doing ebook and paperback.
okay, cool, great. So you'll be able to get those on Amazon.
Yes, it should be available on Amazon. I do believe it will be also on the Defiance Press website. I think they also put them on there. I'm
Yes,
not sure. Um,
they do.
uh, I mean, if you want, we could talk more about the process, or
Yes, yes.
I'm
Tell me what's
actually
your
curious.
process.
Um,
Tell me what your
well,
process.
I mean, a lot of my process is very much first person driven. I've definitely been always a fan of first person narratives.
Mhm.
So I'm also very much I'm into all sorts of sci-fi. So even though mine's not like super sci-fi, dystopian kind of falls into sci-fi, but I'm like, I love, love, love things like H.G. Wells.
Mhm.
Gosh, my brain's dying on me. Love Orwell. Absolutely love Orwell. So that
Yeah.
definitely kind of goes into that.
Yeah.
So, very much I'm into things like, Brave New World with Aldous Huxley.
Mhm.
So I have a very wide range of kind of like influences. That plus the real world kind of just gets me going. I'm definitely more of a verbal, like mental vomit on the computer at first. That's kind of like how
Mhm.
I start out.
Yep.
And I
When do
just
you
go
like
from
to
there. I mean,
type? When do you like to write? In the morning, in the afternoon, the night?
me, it's just whenever it hits me. I've also never been a morning person. I mean, I go to church on Saturday night because I've always told my grandmother, God knows I'm not a morning person. He knows me. He's known me since, before I was born. He knows I'm not a morning person. So I go on Saturday night. So that was always a hard thing with
Yeah.
when I was teaching. I mean, also I would do a lot of my writing when I'd have like a when you'd have like a especially with like middle school and high school because I did a lot of substitute teaching in Texas because I didn't want to get a full blown classroom
Mhm.
because then we'd end up moving again and I'd get like attached to the students and I'm like and then they get sad when you leave.
Mhm.
So I did a lot of subbing. So when I'd have
Like
like
a
that off,
puppy. They're like
yeah. So it's
puppies.
kind of like it's like when I'd have like my prep periods, I would do a
Yeah.
lot of writing then. So it would just kind of be like here and there. Um, But I mean, once I get going, it's like I don't want to stop because I feel like if I don't get it out,
Mhm.
I'm gonna lose it. It's like one of those things. Like if I have like a dream that I really want to remember, I got to write it down. So with me, it's kind of like very ephemeral. Like, okay, I got the idea, I got to get it down. I also use a lot of dream sequencing in my writing. There's actually a lot of stuff in there that I actually thought of when I was dreaming. I'm a very vivid dreamer, so I
Oh
find that to
wow.
be a very good place to gain my inspiration because I've always
Uh,
been one of those people who actually I can lucid dream, so I know I'm dreaming.
yeah. Oh wow.
And yeah, it's very vivid. And so my husband always thought it was weird. I'm like, what did you dream about? I was like, I don't dream. Like, what do you mean you don't dream? Are you psychotic or something? He's like, I just don't remember. I'm like, okay. But
I don't remember mine either.
yeah, I guess I'm a weird one with that one. I remember a lot, and that I kind of use that as some inspiration. I also use a lot of myself in my writing, so a lot of my characters have different parts of me in them.
Mhm.
And I forget what the radio program was. I was just driving once before I had satellite radio. I love my satellite radio.
Yeah.
And I was, scrolling through the stations, and it landed on, when I was scanning this talk show, kind of somebody was doing an author interview. I have no idea who it was or what the book was, but something they said really struck me because it was after I started writing my book, and they said, no fictional work is not semi autobiographical, and no autobiography is not somewhat fictional.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like that is so true because when you do write, you put a lot of yourself into your
Yes.
characters, whether you're thinking about it or not. And every autobiography you read, people are kind of like, padding it and fluffing it with who they wish they were. So
Yeah. I do the same thing. My wife said, "Oh, so the character that's you." I go, "Well, sorta." And they go, "Oh, that's our son." Well, sorta,
yeah.
because you have to, embellish or it's fiction. But I like it when I talk to people and they turn around and go, "Is this real?"
Yeah.
Oh, that's good fiction.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have friends and my husband too, like, oh, that's you, or that's me, or that's so. So I'm like, no, no, just parts of it, because
Just
we
incremental
draw from
parts.
yeah, we draw
Yes.
from our experiences of people and how we relate to them. And so I think that's really an integral part of character development
Mhm.
for anybody that takes their craft really seriously.
Yep.
Instead of like, the contrived things that, people kind of spew out. Like I know, like, I'm not going to hate on other authors. I know a lot of them, they do what they do, but I mean, sometimes you'll read some things and it's just like, that is just so tropey and so contrived. Just like,
Mhm.
it's glaring. It's like, you
Mhm.
got to put some soul into it. If you didn't
Yeah.
put part of you into it, you didn't really go into it like you should have.
Yeah. I agree. I try to put one tear jerker into each book.
Oh yeah, gotta have that. Gotta have the
Even though it may not
you
be,
got
or something funny, or it has to be funny. Some funny
oh
stuff in it.
yeah. I love to use a lot of breaks of levity, even in like
Yeah,
situations that are really tense. Cause I mean that's
right.
something I do in my own life. They
Yeah,
always say, the most serious people, or the ones that seem the most like, melancholy, they're also usually the most funny. Because
right.
we try to like, break the tension by putting some humor into it. And that's kind of a coping mechanism. I definitely put that into a couple of my characters in different ways. It's like, okay, this is a really tense situation. How do we diffuse this? Like, oh, you just, crack a joke, or a little jab here, a little jab there. So
Or you
you
say
can't
something
take
and you say something, you leave, and about 5 minutes later, somebody goes, "Well, that was funny." I finally got it. He's gone. I finally got it.
yeah,
So, what would you recommend for anybody wanting to write their first novel? What kind of gotchas, or what to do, what not to do, based on what you've done so far to date?
uh honestly, I would just say don't force it. I mean, anytime I've had to do forced creative writing, I
Yeah,
look back, I'm like, oh, that was crap.
right. I agree with
And a
that.
lot,
I agree.
yeah. And then a lot of people will be like, well, it's not coming to me, it's not coming to me. It's like, that's the thing, is like, you kind of can't control it. And that's also the issue with, if you want to think of being an author as your entire career. I mean, for me, it'd be a great perk. But I know I'm no J.K. Rowling. It's like hitting it big. The gatekeepers in the industry make it really hard, no matter how great your work is. Especially when it comes to like media press, like who they're going to pump up, who they're not. That's also especially hard if you write with even a slight conservative slant. They
Yeah.
tend to they tend to bury you. I'd say don't get discouraged. I know that's hard because I had plenty of times when I was discouraged.
Yeah.
Especially when I had a whole chapter that I just wrote and the computer crashed and it got deleted and I had to rewrite the whole thing.
Oh no. Back up.
I,
Your husband
yeah.
should tell you that. Back up and back up often.
Oh yeah, I was, but I mean, it's just like I went back in, just the whole chapter was gone, and that was just like the rage took over with that one. I'm like, you got to be kidding me! But then I look back, I'm like, maybe the way I rewrote it was actually probably better.
Right.
But yeah, just wait to be inspired. Don't force it. Spend time. And it can just come to you, like I said, reading a news article, just looking at the world around you and observing it. It's one of those things where you know it when you think it, or I know that it just sounds really really tropey, but it's like you'll know it when you see it, or when you see it in
Mm-hmm.
here, you'll just know. It's you can't go out with the idea that I'm going to write the next great American novel and then it's going to come to you.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, for some people, I mean, I'm sure there's some writers out there where like, yeah, they decided that they were going to write something great. It was going to be something great. But I mean, you look at a lot of authors out there, like really well established, famous ones. I'm not going to drop any names. But they've written dozens and dozens of books, and their first stuff was like, really great.
Right.
But then you get to the point where like a lot of their latter stuff is just like, eh,
Rehash.
because it's rehashed. It's just tired. It's
Mm.
hard to follow, and it's like they're doing it because they got their publisher saying, "Hey, give us another book," and they signed a
Yeah.
contract saying, "I'm going to give you another book," and it's not what it used to be. So I'd say
Well, go ahead.
don't be pressured.
I tell folks, if I had my own morning show, every book I wrote would be number one,
Oh yeah, totally. You got
even
the
if it
medium.
didn't deserve it.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh my God.
that's
Yeah, it would
crazy.
be. I mean, even if you think about all the books that ended up being number one out there, especially the ones that are written by celebrities, and like we all know those are ghostwriters.
Yeah, yeah. I would take too. Don't get discouraged. Um, keep writing, and look for inspiration, and think of the next thing, right? While you're
Yeah.
thinking of what you're doing now, and just put pen to paper. You don't have. I don't outline when I write.
No,
I
me
just
neither.
I just a pantser. It's called a pantser. I didn't know that.
Me
It's called a
neither. That
pantser.
sounds interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And so I don't do that. And I don't say, okay, I'm going to write 1,000 words today, or I'm going to write 500. I just
Yeah.
sit. If I want to write, I just start writing until I'm like, oh, I'm done with that thought. I need to go do something else.
Yeah.
But that's what I do. So show us the cover of your book. I know you got one.
Oh yeah, let me bring it up here. So this, of course, I wish I could have designed this. I mean, I gave them some ideas, but
Uh,
I'm not a marketer and I'm not a graphic designer, but I think it turned out pretty well. For seeing that there.
there you go.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
so like I
nice.
said,
I like that.
yeah, so we got like a kind of our little tropey, but our star-crossed lovers kind of vibe going on there. But it's kind of that story of struggle against adversity and overcoming that adversity with
Mhm.
like hope and love and personal growth, and not letting the world, even if it's the most awful world you could imagine, take you down, because that's what it's trying to do for the main characters. And
Mhm.
I've always been kind of an underdog and rooting for the underdog, and so for here it's like well, both my characters are kind of oddball underdogs, and as much as they have character flaws and they can be sometimes even annoying, you just want to grab them by the shoulders and shake them. It's like, quit being such a self-pity and pathetic little twit. You
Well, I
want to
think
shake
that's
them out of
human
it.
nature. That's human nature.
Exactly. I tried to write the human experience there,
Yeah.
dirty details and all.
Excellent.
uh so I mean, yeah, it's got a little bit of mature content. I have to say, trigger warning out there.
Uh,
I don't write anything graphic, but there is at the beginning there's drug use, basic human condition when people are depressed and
mhm.
out on their sorts. There is a rape scene, but it's written very tastefully. There's nothing graphic, but
Mhm.
it's integral to the character development of why our character Layla is where she is, because of the things that happened to her in her life and how that has shaped her as a
Mhm.
person. So to kind of leave those things out would be very disingenuous to the
Right.
person being an actual person. Like you want to imagine this person can be real.
Right. Well, of course.
So when
Yeah.
so when stories kind of tiptoe around the things that are not so pretty, it's like it doesn't really feel genuine. It's like those things, like they're awful. But that's part of the human condition. That's part of life, warts and all. So I really try to make it very raw and personal. Like the character, their innermost, feelings and thoughts.
Well, excellent. So how do people get a hold of you? Where can they find you? We get a
Um,
website and stuff like that.
well, I have an author page on Facebook, so facebook.com/unknown variant. I think it's unknown variant one or just
Okay.
unknown variant. Try either one of those.
Okay.
I'm trying to get out there on Twitter. So my Twitter handle is just unknown variant. I mean,
Okay.
not Twitter, Instagram.
Okay.
Also on Twitter, but that's where I'm a little bit more unfiltered. I know I should probably rein that in, but I'm a unapologetic speaker of the truth. So it's been my whole life that my dad said, your mouth is going to get you into trouble one day. And I'm like, it probably has a few times, but
Now your outlet is writing, so maybe that'll tame
yeah.
the cougar. Or tame
Yeah,
the animal.
tame it, but like I said, get me behind a keyboard and
Excellent.
I go like the wind. That's how
Excellent.
it is.
Well, we're excited
But
excited about because it's a big deal, folks. People say they write the book all the time, and very few people finish it. And when you do finish, it's a big deal, especially when you get your first book in your hand.
yeah,
That is major.
yeah,
So I know you're going to be excited. So you're going to have to send us a pic, and we'll put it out on our social media and everything. Thanks for taking the time. I know you got a hectic life, but you found time to not only write, but take care of your special son and
yep,
one of our war fighters. So appreciate that. Thank
yeah. No, thank you, Travis.
you. And we'll see. 16th of January,
17th.
17th of January, unknown variant on Amazon or defiancepress.com. You'll be able to pick up either the ebook or the paperback, the soft cover.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, Sarah, thank you very much. And it was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks. Bye. Thank you for listening to Author Eke. There'll be another episode next week. Please stop by and start your own story. We can't wait to hear it.